Too early for that.
Too early for that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry everybody. Good morning or good afternoon if you're on the East Coast. Welcome to PayTrace Power30. My name's Sam Johnson. If you're new to this, welcome for the first time. Some of you may have been on this last week. We had a fun time. So much fun that we've invited back our guest of honor.
What happened?
Eric Jenks.
Did something right, I guess.
So for those of you that don't know, Eric Jenks is an above average power forward, a below average golfer. He's a lumberjack and he's okay. He's my boss and our national sales manager at PayTrace.
Good to see everyone. Thanks for coming.
Awesome. I'm assuming everybody's clapping right now.
Yes.
We can't hear you. You are muted. But I do want to say we want audience participation today. So if you have questions for Mr. Jenks here, if you wiggle your mouse around on the computer screen, you'll see a Q&A box. Click on that, type in your questions. We want to hear them. With that said, we've got about 30 minutes today. We're going to be interviewing Eric. This is totally off the cuff, not scripted whatsoever. So we're going to keep you on your toes.
Here we go.
So last week, we talked a lot about sales strategy and planning for 2019.
A lot of company questions.
And it was interesting. It was
good questions.
Brand new thing.
Yeah.
So the fun thing is when you came back the next day, you had relayed to me that this is mom approved. Power30 is mom approved. What the heck does that mean?
Funny story. My mom watched. I was surprised. She told me I didn't understand about half of what you said, but you sounded like you know what you're talking about. And she gave the big thumbs up. And so thank you, Mom. But Mom approved, yes.
Mom approved. And I heard your wife also watched the Power30.
She had some constructive criticism. So did not like the chair and a few other items. So it's a work in progress.
The arms are not up top today.
I'm trying not to lean in and get all awkward. So
not block that sweet logo in the background.
Don't block the logo. And but I brought back the flannel.
Yeah.
Actually, the plaid, I guess.
Plaid. We kept the lumberjack.
You kept the flannel.
I'm legit. I've got the legit flannel going on.
I actually ordered a flannel for the shirt, and it came in too Western. I was like, I can't do it.
Going from lumberjack to cowboy.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. So kept with the flannel.
Cool, man. Well, I want to highlight you a little bit more on a kind of personal, professional level before we get into the sales stuff.
Oh boy, I'm making me nervous.
But you're actually a student right now.
Yeah, holy moly.
Keeping that under wraps. So what's going on?
Yeah, working on my MBA right now. And in fact, kind of a proud moment. My hardest class so far is business ethics. There's an irony there. And the professor and I don't see eye to eye on what ethics are. But finally passed that class. Took 5 weeks. Longer than I expected. But
you're too
I'm ethical now. So you can I've got the certification to prove it. So, but yeah, trying to create a culture of learning. Our company has a culture of learning, keeping curiosity alive. And, and at the same time, everyone's elevating their game. And so I felt the need to go back and finish the degree. So I'm excited about that. Yeah. It's funny because my boys are watching me, go to school and they love that. They're like, Dad, how you doing? I'm like, not so good some days. So
that's funny. That's awesome. Well, let's get into some of the nitty gritty now.
Okay.
Get ready.
I'm bracing myself.
So we had a lot of requests from folks to talk a lot more about the actual sales process for PayTrace. And we figured Eric's in town today, one day only. Let's get him on a call and chat about that. So awesome. We want to talk a lot about really valuable large accounts, which PayTrace is a fairly good fit for.
Sure.
Folks want to be successful with us. One of our big benefits is level 2 and level 3.
Big topic.
Right. Merchants don't typically know about level 2 and level 3 process.
It's confusing.
It's pretty complex.
Yeah.
What would you give advice to a rep about having that conversation or starting that conversation with a merchant?
Yeah, these are my favorite merchants. they are complex. You know, they have complex and interesting scenarios that they're operating in. So you have to go in with a good deal of, and we go back with a curiosity mindset, learning mindset, to jump in and learn a lot about their business and asking questions about how their cash flow works. And so I think, there's a lot of thought about attitude makes a big difference, and making sure that you have that learning mindset is probably going to be your number one indicator, I think, of success in this industry, because quite frankly, it varies widely, right? So you'll have one person that's using an old terminal to process $1 million a month worth of payments. And then the next person that you're going to run into is using an advanced ERP system that runs their whole manufacturing line all the way down to, getting the current rates from the post office. And how do you plug in payment processing into that? And so you just never know what you're going to see. And I think that's why I like it. In addition to, quite frankly, they tend to be bigger accounts, right? So you have the opportunity to make a bigger difference for more people. There's also kind of a cool feeling of, I was literally just looking at a statement just a few minutes ago in which the average $2 million a month in processing, and average monthly savings $14,000, and a real bona fide account. And that makes a big difference for people. I mean, that's at least a salary, maybe more, which can be the competitive difference for maybe a business staying in business or not. And so this is where we start making, I think we make a significant difference. And quite frankly, it's in a space that, hey, you know what, we're helping them save money on interchange.
Yeah.
And that's, that doesn't hurt my feelings at all.
No.
So
that's really cool. So that statement's new to me. That's a cool story. I wish you told me that so I can use that as a best practice.
It just happened.
So that's like 6 figures in savings.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, guys, that's more than just saving money. That's reducing expenses and making these businesses profitable.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that story was they kept their margin the same. Right. So they were doing a statement analysis. They kept the margin for the processor the same. So they're not reducing that expense. So again, they can continue to support that customer, but the net effective rate, because of not giving money away.
Right.
So interchange optimization is a real deal.
That rocks. That's really cool.
We love it.
So for big deals like this,
yeah,
you have to have a certain approach, kind of a consultative approach.
Absolutely.
For reps, what are some of the more successful reps doing as compared to maybe people that are struggling a little bit?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is they are asking more questions, quite frankly. And so they're going in with less assumptions, and they're asking more questions. I think one of my favorite questions that people ask is asking the business owners, where are they spending money? And we've talked about that before. That's a question that I think every sales rep should be asking every board member, every CFO, is where are you spending money? Because that's your prospect list. And then from there, just begin to make it the norm that you are asking more questions than you're providing statements for. Right. One of the things that I love is we had someone who was telling me, like on this last statement, their bill, their bill's $14,000. Is that a lot of money to you? Right? That's a great question, because for this particular entity, no, it wasn't. Right? And so if you go in assuming that $14,000 is a lot of money, man, a question can really have saved you the deal there. And so asking more questions as the norm, I think, is really going to make a big difference.
So in this specific instance, $14,000 a month, I've had a lot of reps reach out to me saying they're getting concerns from the merchant that they don't believe that that's real, that they're actually overpaying $14,000 a month off of that true cost.
Sure.
I mean, how do you approach that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think appeal to authority is a big deal, and going to our website, For the Love of Money, right, is a big deal, just to let folks know that you're not making this up. I do encourage folks to download the interchange rates guides directly from Visa and MasterCard. I use MasterCard a lot just because they make it really simple. Data rate 1, 2, and 3, right? It's spelled out right there, and they can do the math themselves, right? Would you rather pay 3% or would you rather pay 2%?
Exactly.
And then from there, if you can connect that to their statement, now you have the beginning of a conversation. And that's what we're looking for, is just to have that conversation and explore the gap between where they are and where they could be.
Right. So you just mentioned one of the tools that PayTrace offers.
I love that tool.
For the love of money. James, would you mind pulling that up really quick? I think I saw you scrolling around there. Let's pull that up on the screen. So this is what Eric is talking about. Guys, if you haven't seen this yet, it's on our front page of our website. We've got kind of that rotating panel going on. There's one link that says For the Love of Money. If you click on that link, it's going to bring up this page where we actually will list out all of MasterCard's and Visa's applicable interchange rates for level 2 and level 3 processing. So as you're trying to navigate some of these complex merchant statements, right, these are some key qualifications that you can keep your eyes out for. And if you see a number in those 2 left-hand columns that our marketing team has highlighted red, right, you can see that that's what they should be paying on that true interchange cost.
Could be, yeah.
Right? If they're not paying that, they're leaving money on the table, essentially.
And in this case, a lot of money. And so,
Right.
The consultative approach just really comes in and says, where do you want to be? And I think most merchants in today's economy, they need to be more efficient, right? They need to be more productive, and this allows you to take that consultative approach to solve a real problem for them. So.
Absolutely. So with this whole selling process, that's a concern that we run into. It's a pretty easy concern to overcome, though, right? Yeah, you're saving us too much money.
Appeal to the higher authority.
Yeah, exactly. What other common concerns have you run into when talking about selling, this merchant account?
Yeah, I think the next one, and I think we saw this question last week and we weren't able to get to it, is, can you guys do what you're doing? Can you provide fake data? I think was the question that was posed last week and I didn't get to. I love that question, and I'll just tell you, if that question comes up, just get excited, because you have an engaged customer at this point, an engaged prospect, and you have the opportunity to really kind of move into that role. And so ask, again, going back to questions, what does fake mean to you, right? And so, again, get to that next level, because what that says to me is, man, integrity is important. I don't want to be doing something that might expose my business to liability, right? And so this gives you an opportunity to align at a deeper level. And then at that point, once you've made that alignment, you can come through and then realize, hey, PayTrace feels that way, we feel that way, and we also feel that integrity would cause us to, maybe leverage technology to make life easier for your staff, right? Now I'm having a conversation that's not on price. And then my favorite line for that one, and you've heard it probably a million times since you've been in the office, is that with level 3, one of the best examples is source zip code, right? So one of the requirements, if you don't have source zip code, it's a no-go, right? You're 3%, you're not 2% without source zip code on level 3. Well, why are we asking customers to type in their zip code, right? We know where they are. You're probably in their office right now. And so PayTrace is just smarter processing. Right? We're leveraging technology so they don't have to take the time. That's a cost. The training, that's a cost. To type in that data to get the better interchange, that's a cost, right? And so there are multiple pain points that we're solving by leveraging technology. Now, I will say there are certain things that we use generic. I like generic better than I like fake, right? And so I've been to, was in Mexico recently, and they were selling me fake Ray-Bans. I didn't like that, right? I still bought a pair because they were $25. But the reality is we don't like fake. But what PayTrace, going back to the integrity pieces, we know, for example, what their tax ID is. That's could be a required field on level 3. Yeah. We could provide that. But for our privacy's sake, we don't, right? Now, if our merchant wants to provide that, we make it really easy for them to do that. So they can customize that generic data into specific data, right? And so they can provide that. But for integrity's sake, we just don't do that right off the bat. We've had customers who are saying, hey, look, we don't necessarily want you to be providing our tax ID on every single transaction that qualifies for level 3. They're not looking for it. They don't need it.
Right.
Okay, good. Well, you know what? We can still get you that savings by providing generic data. So I like generic better than fake. But you can't go defensive on that, right? And so again, go back to asking questions. What does that mean to you?
Right. Right. Can you tell he's answered that question before?
I'll just tell you, if you get that, don't be defensive. That defensive will make you lose the deal right off the bat.
Right.
Those are engagement. We love engagement. Continue the engagement.
Right. So, question I've been getting a lot recently from reps as well is, right, there's a lot of merchants out there, a lot of different verticals, a lot of industries. Yeah. What tips do you recommend as far as prospecting goes, right? How are you locating these qualified merchants?
Yeah, great question. So my advice to the folks that have been on my teams in the past is, number one, what is your experience? Because that makes a big difference. I mean, we've had some folks that they were literally used car salesmen before. Well, guess what? Sell in the auto industry then. That's what you know, right? And there's a space for that. Again, go back to that question, where are those business owners buying stuff? And then that's where you're going to start. The next thing is, where do you want to be, right? When I was selling, after several years, I decided I want to be in the nonprofit space. It felt good. It felt like I was doing good. And so I just started moving into folks that were in the nonprofit charity space. And I had a couple, there was an outfit locally. They had a big event annually. They did $1 million in one weekend, right? So nonprofit doesn't mean no money, right? Some of these guys do a lot of processing. But my advice would be, number one, where is your experience? Leverage that, follow it up the supply chain. And then number two, where do you want to be? I mean, I hear a lot of folks are like, hey, I want to be in healthcare. Okay, well, that's going to be a tough space, but it's a good space. You know, start doing your homework, go back to college, right? Start learning about that space. There are a lot of industries that right now, payments, they are trying to integrate and make seamless. And so really kind of the world can be your oyster. B2B, I just tell you, suppliers are a big deal. Healthcare is a big deal. Integrations, right? So the technology space can be a really big deal. I liked CPAs. I mean, I'm starting to date myself, but I did a lot in the professional office space. I had a couple of CPAs that would refer a lot of accounts to me.
Yeah.
So that accounting professional office space is kind of fun to work in. Lawyers, I know, but they make good money, right? And they don't complain about price. Some of them don't complain about price. You know, they're more concerned about, hey, what can you provide as a service to make it so I can spend more time with my clients. I'd rather have that conversation than arguing over a nickel every day.
Right. Absolutely. So flip that.
Oh, yeah.
Not every merchant's going to be a good fit for us.
Oh, wow.
And we'll be the first to say it, right? We don't
waste your time.
Yeah. Don't waste your time. Who are those merchants? Who's not a good fit for PayTrace?
Yeah, good question. We don't do tip adjust. I think we mentioned this last time.
Right.
So anything with tip adjust. So that rules out a lot of hospitality.
Yeah.
That's probably not going to be it. Small ticket, right? Probably not a good fit. Not always. We do a ton in the parking industry, and they have small tickets, so that's not a hard and fast rule. Yeah, restaurant, again, that's more the tip adjust. We don't really play in that space.
Right. But it's a good place to get started.
I love that space. I mean, I like to eat, as you can probably tell. But yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, I know last time we ran a little short on time on questions. So guys, if you do have questions, get those in now if you want those to be answered.
Yeah.
Like I said, we'll try to plug some in as we go along, but we have been getting hit up right now. The first one happens to do with our fashion again. For some reason, you guys are just jabbing at us about our shirts. Apparently, Shara thinks that our shirts are clashing, so that's cool.
They actually, that's a good call. We're going to work on the coordination. I will say, for the record, Sam had a Christmas sweater that was awesome.
I'll break the fourth wall.
But, there you go. The Christmas cat sweater. The problem was it was green, and so it messes with our green screen.
I know.
So
we actually are in front of a green screen. This is not real Spokane in the background.
Surprised.
Yeah, but
yeah. I looked at a couple Christmas sweaters, but I couldn't find any that were appropriate for the time and space. So thank you. Good observation. We'll work on the coordination.
We did redeem ourselves because Shara did comment saying that she loves the sweater. So maybe next time we'll see if we can figure out something. Maybe
I was asking the producers where the boundaries are for this, and so evidently the cat was close to the boundaries.
Yeah, believe it or not, this is somewhat planned. I gotta say, we do put a little bit of thought into these calls.
Well, yeah, some.
There was a T-Rex Christmas sweater conversation.
That was what I want. I saw on Amazon Santa Claus riding a T-Rex on a really cool sweater, and number one, my kids would have loved it. But yeah, no, I couldn't pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, for some reason you thought for a PayTrace webinar that would be not appropriate. Are you kidding me?
I mean, you'll see how we operate here.
Well, let's get into some different questions. Let's go with David here. David has a question. How does level 2 and 3 info get automatically inserted into the transaction?
Yeah.
Can that also apply to customer fields? Could you just explain that a little bit more about how it works?
Great question. Kind of two things, and they are separate. So what we do for interchange optimization is different than what we do for custom fields. Sometimes we call custom fields discretionary fields. I'll just briefly touch on that because I've sold a ton of accounts with discretion. You've sold a lot of accounts with discretionary fields.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the things unique about PayTrace is that you can customize it with some questions for reporting. And now we're just not a generic gateway, right? So whenever I would do a demo for a doctor's office, I would put in patient ID, right? And so now we're talking their lingo, right? Or if we're talking to a lawyer's office, we change that custom field to client ID, right? Because that's a pain point for them reporting and making that easy, customized. So custom reporting, essentially anything that the merchant may need for reporting. Different from interchange optimization. And so how do we do that? That's a little bit of the secret sauce, right? And so there is, obviously some proprietary aspect of how we do that. But some of the things that are kind of well known is that number one, the first 6 digits of a credit card are the BIN number, the bank ID number. And we stay on top of or stay current with all the issuers on which of those BINs are level 2 and level 3. So that's one way that we tell. There's some other things that happen within the authorization and also with the settlement that allow us to basically identify, hey, this is a level 2 card. And then since we are interchange experts, we know, hey, this card needs this data element, whatever that is. And provided that you have the PayTrace account set up correctly, then we will supplement that at settlement. And so that's cool because one of the things that's different about our competitors is they use what I call the spaghetti approach, right? They don't know. And so they just throw everything at the wall and hope it sticks, right? And so maybe it's a level 2, I don't know, and just throw everything at it. And that's not how we operate. We actually provide real-time information back to the merchant so they know, hey, this is a card that's going to really benefit from this enhanced data.
Absolutely. I'm going to skip down because I saw a really cool question that kind of referred to something that you said earlier.
Okay.
So this is coming from Lloyd.
Hey, Lloyd.
What's up, Lloyd? So Lloyd's asking, back to your CPA example.
Yes.
Back in the day when you used to sell merchant services. Back in the day. That wasn't that long ago. So when you would partner with CPAs, did you set up any sort of referral partnerships with any of these CPA offices? So if they referred some of their, their other contacts.
Yeah. So personally, I did not. No. It's we're talking about compensation, right? A lot of folks do, right? And that makes sense in certain scenarios. My compensation really was just really time and beer, and so we just hung out. We were friends, right? I was helping their clients, and so that was the deal. Yeah. And so I prefer to operate that way as kind of a bona fide service, but certainly that it's not right or wrong. But you can look. It's amazing where you'll find those. I mean, so a lot of people, CPAs are a good source of referrals. Lawyers tend to be a really good source of referrals. Real estate agents, especially on the commercial side, can be a really good source of referrals. And so making those folks your friends is a big deal.
Yeah.
You should have a long list of places you're sending Christmas cookies to. I think ours right now is close to 200, right? I mean, you want to be engaged with folks because you just never know where that's going to come from, the next big referral.
Absolutely. We got a lot of cookies in the mail right now.
We got a lot of cookies in the mail.
A lot of cookies.
Money well spent.
Some might be coming to my doorstep.
I hope so.
I hope so. Cool. So I'm going to say he's not kidding about the beer thing. You have mentioned on multiple occasions that you have actually drawn out the 4-party system of interchange on bar napkins.
I've had to. Yeah. It's funny what you can just solve in a bar.
Yeah.
So
lots of good stuff happens there. So
yeah, I was talking with a ISV, right, a software technology company, and I'm like, where are the decisions made, right? Another great question. Where are the decisions? Who are the decision makers? And they said, well, actually, it's this person and this product person. On Fridays, they go grab a beer, and that's where all the decisions are made. And so I'm like, okay, how do I get invited to that? And I invited myself over, and it was a really good decision, good partner of ours.
Yeah.
So
great. I'm gonna turn to these guys in the background. Our marketing team's over here on this side of the room, just so you guys know. There are some producers. So we pulled up the For the Love of Money page that Eric was talking about with all the interchange stuff.
Yeah.
And this question's come up a lot. Can we get this in some sort of marketing material that we can download or print off or provide to our merchants? Marketing, you look a little nervous. Is that in the works? Are we putting together something for that? You don't have to talk. You can nod or shake your head or no, not right now.
Okay. Go to our website.
Go to our website, but keep bugging them because I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, I'll just tell you, make it one of your favorites. It should be part of your conversation, right? Again, it's part of the conversation. So
it's easy to pull up on a phone, on a laptop, right?
Yeah.
It's accessible. All right, we're getting the red light that we're coming up on time.
Man.
So if you have questions, send them in right now. Let's take at least one more. Harold's asking, with regards to e-commerce or maybe some sort of integration.
Sure.
How does PayTrace's interchange optimization work on that?
Yeah, great question, Harold. Thank you. The cool thing about PayTrace is that every time you run across any kind of integration, again, that should put a smile to your face because it's smarter processing, right? And so if you go to our developer page, developers.paytrace.com, you can look at the list of requirements. If you talk nerd or geek or programming, you'll notice that the requirements are the same as auth.net, right? Everyone needs a credit card number. Everyone needs a dollar amount, right? That's no different. But the cool thing about PayTrace is we can take it from there, right? And so that integration from the e-commerce doesn't need to be any more difficult, and they get the benefit of level 2, level 3 integration.
Right. So that's awesome. Cool. Well, I think we're getting the notification that we are actually out of time. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some resources. If we didn't answer your question today, Eric's going to follow up with some of these questions probably later this week, early next week. Feel free to reach out to him at sales@paytrace.com. Again, sales@paytrace.com. We're more than happy to talk with you, help you be successful. Check out our blog. It's a fairly new resource. If you go to our website,
awesome.
Go to our website. Top right-hand corner, kind of where Eric's head is right now, or maybe my head. I can't tell if this is mirrored or not. You'll see a big link that says blog. Subscribe to that. We send out all sorts of product updates, webinar updates. So check that out. I will say this is going to be our last Power30 for the New Year's. We've had some great turnout and great feedback so far, so we're going to keep rolling with it.
Probably not with me. Just so you know, it's not the intention that this isn't the Jenksy show.
No.
I just happened to be in town, and we had a lot of unanswered questions. But we have some cool people on the docket for the new year. And I would just say, too, if you have an interest, if you want to see maybe somebody from our development team, our integrations team, ping Sam.
Yeah.
And we'll see, we're going to get some more folks on there for different perspectives within that B2B PayTrace world.
Right. So mark your calendars. We do have it planned out. January 7th, we're going to be talking with our ISV manager, Kevin Hurd. So if you want to learn
That's
about
an upgrade right there, just for the record. You'll like Kevin. I like Kevin.
You'll like Kevin. He's on the background in all the spotlights, so he's excited to actually be in here. So get some questions ready for that. It's going to be fun. Hope you all have a great holiday season. Great Happy New Year's. And Eric, thanks again, man. This is fun.
I appreciate it.
Cool.
Have a great day.
See you guys.